Hi. Welcome. Sorry we're late. I'm going to cue the music. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. We'll give people a minute to come in. I'm just going to cue up my YouTube. This was planned, and then it was unplanned, and then it was planned again. So, hi, Jason.
Hi, Kevin.
That voice scared me a little bit. Oh, God. We needed to laugh. Things get stressful. Whew! It's like trying to manage all the parts. Hello to everybody who's coming in. I just want to bring this up on my... There we go. I think we're good. Yeah, we're live. Wonderful. We thought we were going to do, maybe, or I did, a recorded version of talking about the upcoming workshop that Jason and I will be hosting. We're going to put all of the info. Actually, the information is actually in the description. Fingers crossed. When the details of that is, the link to the event. And it's a fascinating, and it's deep, and it's super layered, because I was starting to ask some questions that we probably would have been in a conversation for about 4 days and completely missed this live. So thanks for coming back, Jason. It's
Absolutely.
Nice to have you. I tried to make you I tried to give you the role as admin, and that went a little sideways, so we'll sort that out so that in the future you can help with all of the starring and all.
It wasn't meant to be.
I know. Well, maybe just not in this moment.
Yeah.
We tend to leave things to, well, I don't want to say we. Anyways, meant to be. So thank you, everyone, for coming. It was a quick little half an hour ago that we decided that we would do the live. The success of the first 2 workshops that we did together, the first one was the past life regression, hypnosis. And the second was the meet or reconnect with your spirit guides hypnosis workshop. And they were both phenomenal. So the third in the series of the 3, but I feel like there's going to be more. I know, like, maybe you just have 3, but anyways.
There'll be more.
No, but there will be more, but I even think different ones from the 3. Because yes, we're going to repeat the 3, but I think there's actually even more. Rumor has it. Spirit, they give us this little bit of information. So as people are coming in, hello to everybody. We probably won't be on too long, but you never know. We will be open to questions that you might have about the upcoming Future Life Progression workshop. As Jason goes into more of the explanation of what that means and what it will look like, some questions that might arise, feel free to ask them, and Jason will and myself will do our best to answer them. And yeah, if there's people that have been in the chat that have been to either of the workshops, if you want to share how that was for you, that would be wonderful as well. And Jason, I guess what we will start with is, what is, well, here's the thing. We were calling it a future life regression. Technically is a progression, and we've changed it back to progression. So that was a part of the scramble to edit. But what is a future life progression?
So future life progression, it's kind of a, I don't want to say double-edged sword, but there's an incredible amount of freedom as to what you can see or experience in terms of, it mainly is based on just your intention. So the higher self, which we've talked about before, is always, it's the first thing is that it's really important to always consider that this life right now, right here, is the most important. So anytime that we do any type of hypnosis, that intention should already be that you are accessing, whether it be other timelines or past or future lives. It's always in order for you to make the best, follow the best path you can right now. So it's progression in the sense that I mean, we all have access to the future, which is, already here, but it's our limited human perception that it's a timeline. But
Spirit wants you to repeat that. We have access. And can you say that again? Spirit said that's worth mentioning again.
We have access to the future. It's not something that is mystical or magical. It's we are aware of future and past all at once, because there isn't, we call it regression, progression, future, past, but it's all happening right now as we're experiencing it. So thinking of it that way, accessing the future really is, it's right here and present with us right now. It's kind of, gets complicated. But like I was saying, with accessing the future, there's an incredible amount of responsibility that comes along with that, because one, it's recognizing that what you see is to kind of inform where you are now. So for example, if you're not in the best place, or you feel as though that maybe you're not on the right pathway, you might be shown the worst possible scenario in order for you to be inspired to possibly make different choices than you have been making. But I have to stress, there's no such thing as good or bad choices. It's all, a matter of learning experience. So that's why I feel like it's important to stress, like, taking responsibility for whatever happens with what we're going to be doing with the progression. And it's not always the worst possible case scenario. For example, you might be on the right pathway and see a future life that is prosperous, and you're happy and joyous and everything is perfect, and that's great. Some people might take that as, oh, I'm doing the right thing. I don't have any responsibility. I can take the back seat and just expect the best to happen. But that's not really the case, because every choice that we make is reflected in how those futures will manifest.
Interesting. So I guess to get clear on it, and maybe this is just for me, but if anyone else was unsure as well, is there caution around it?
No,
no, not caution. Okay.
It's not caution. I mean, you could take it as cautionary. But you also have to consider that we're always making choices, and every choice we make, it's, if you envision it as kind of a trail, and it splits off in one direction and then another direction, and you walk down one pathway, you go down that path, but in reality we actually split. So in that sense, with every choice that we've made in our lifetime, there are infinite numbers of ourselves that have taken, you decide to go to the park instead of the beach. You go both directions, essentially, right? But you're just aware of one.
So caution, yes, perhaps, but it won't leave you with fear.
No.
Yeah, and so if it did, what would that possibly suggest?
I mean, everything is to inform the current life. And
Mhm.
I mean, ultimately, your higher self always has control of what you see,
Right.
and will never show you anything that you cannot handle, for example. So, worst possible case scenario might never be shown to you.
Right.
And it's also a matter of that you are never shown anything that would interfere with your current life path.
Mhm.
So, for example, you would never witness your death
Right.
um,
Yeah,
whatsoever, because
I
if
mean,
you
that's
knew
all
that,
clearly.
then
And that's not how spirit works. We know
no,
that. So it's like, and I was leading you to that because I think that's really important that people are clear on. Um, I think actually I'm gonna maybe say it because I'm hearing the most important, that
yeah,
it won't leave you with that sense. And in connection with the higher self, we wouldn't be presented with more than we could actually handle per se,
right,
um, in any capacity.
right.
Hmm.
For example, if we all choose our time and day and how we're going to die before we even begin the lifetime here. Um, but if that was to be tomorrow, for example, or next week, that would significantly affect and impact how you would carry out the next 12 hours or or
Yeah.
the next week. So it's I guess the best way to say it's safe to be doing a future life progression,
Mhm.
as long as you understand that it's not set in stone and that you take responsibility for your choices moving forward,
Right.
um, whether they be to kind of bypass the scenario that you don't want to see in your future, or realize and manifest a positive outcome.
Mm. So perhaps like things not being set in stone allows us to be in the choice to
Mhm.
actually reroute us in the direction, whether we want to go or that we know we should, or so in that it feels like a gift. So could you talk more about the not set in stone part?
I mean, and I just saw this go by in chat.
What did you see? Because I can go back
Mims.
in time. I
Yeah.
so, so perfect demonstration. What
Yeah.
did you see?
Mims says that it's all in flux until it arrives, and intention, free will can always change whatever's going on, which is exactly the case.
So
We do have a
brilliant.
path and a purpose, and we do have lessons that we come here to learn. But we also have the free will to make
Yeah,
choices, and whether we ultimately learn that lesson
yeah,
or not is a matter of the choices we make.
yeah. And I think that clarity around what it is and what it isn't, and the powerful um, aspect of choice around it is something that might call to many people to participate in.
Yeah, because I think that's the foundation that everyone needs clarity on. I remember in some of my philosophy classes, there's always that debate between determinism or free will. Do we have a
Mm,
choice? Is there destiny or is it fate? And it's all of those things, actually. I mean, there isn't any difference between having a destiny or a determined outcome, but we still have the freedom to choose. So
mhm.
it's that existential weight where we have complete freedom, but then we also have to take responsibility for the choices that we make
Yeah.
along the way.
Yeah, and that's empowering. And that might feel like, oh my gosh, I mean, it could feel many different things. I This caught my eye here. We were going to talk about timelines because um, that's a significant part of it. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah. So, with the question, are we in the most positive outcome timeline? That's kind of there's a lot more in that question itself because there's really no positive or negative, good or bad. it's all a matter of learning. And I mean, I guess one way to think of it is the Nostradamus prophecies. Obviously, if anyone's familiar with those, they have not really manifested themselves because we currently, at this moment, are not on that timeline any longer. So I guess you could see that as positive. It's all a matter of perspective. And at any moment, things can change. I've had recent sessions where we are kind of wavering in and out of one timeline or another, and it's all dependent on the choices not only we make for ourselves, but as kind of a collective community. So it's goes far beyond personal choice and personal responsibility, but helping to shift the consciousness of the globe, I guess. Which
Pamela brings up a great point. You know, and in the realness of it, living it can feel very, very different. So
yeah, I mean, that's actually a really good point about the negativity that is happening now. And it's, I don't want to go off on a different tangent, but a lot of the negativity that is coming is a direct, you can't see darkness without the light. It's all about polarity and balance. And so we are in a time, whether you want to call it ascension or raising the earth is raising its frequency and vibration, there has to be a kind of a counter or a balance to that. So it's been explained to me through working with the higher self that, the farther that we're going, there's going to be farther resistance. And so the negativity, whether it be in the form of world conflict or social political unrest or changing of laws that might seem to be regressive instead of progressive, speaking of those two words, is in a way a good sign. Which is kind of hard to say that, actually.
And live it.
But knowing that often in times of chaos, that's also the time where people rediscover their humanity and come together and work together and change, rise up or whatever they need to do in order to overcome that. So that's
it's that pendulum in the duality that as we go from one side of it, it exposes the other side in that same polarity, if you will. And in that, we've never been separate from it. And yes, this is different. It is very different, but we're never separate from that polarity and duality of the light and the shadow. And as we see more of one, we see more of the other, which is, in the human experience, living it is a tough one.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm getting the nudge. Also, it's all about matter of perception. So, for example, if you see a light, the future where it's not what you expected, and not the best possible case scenario or what you would perceive it to be, it can very well be part of your plan in order to learn a greater lesson. So I've talked about clients that I've worked with who started out having a really nice life, and then towards the end, they died of dehydration, starvation, or suffered horrible torture and everything else. But in that, when they get to the other side and look back on the lifetime, they realize, oh, I learned the value of love, or I learned the value of family, or I learned the value of generosity and gratitude. And it might not be something that we're able to perceive in the present or even as we're looking into the future, but there may be a lesson in that. So I guess it's kind of more liberating, because it's like, yeah, you might see that, but it doesn't mean that you're necessarily on the wrong path. It's just a matter of perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely that what we focus on, our ability to be in the choice, and, our perspective really does, we get say in that, and where we place our attention, which can be really challenging and it can be really easy, is definitely influential in what we see as our reality, for sure.
Right. And that comment that you just put with the keeping positive, I mean, that's the best
Yeah.
that we can do, and recognizing that the things that occur are put in place and part of our learning experience, and looking at it from a greater perspective is all we can do.
Exactly. There was a question here Patricia asked earlier. Can you speak on the group events like this when balancing energy so it's safe for all participants? And the thing that comes to mind, open the coil, any fears?
Yeah, I obviously, well, Kevin brought that up with the terms of fears. They're really, I've mentioned this before, but the higher self or guides, or however you want to conceptualize the higher realms, they always say that the fear is the only disease of the planet, of the Earth experience, that it's contagious, it's created, it's, some people push our feet off of it, use it for control, and it's the one thing that limits us. And so it's important, especially if you want to engage in future life progression, that there really isn't there isn't any need to fear, because we have choice. We create, and we have the powers to we have the power to overcome whatever may come to us through the regression or progression.
I was totally listening to what you're saying. And then Patricia Pat's read the comment, or she made a comment about she's painting while she's listening to this conversation. And it's I just love that, because it, like, Spirit's like, yeah, it's that easy, and it can feel really difficult. It can feel fucking hard. You know what I'm saying? It's really hard in the humanness to be like, to choose, especially with all this stuff, but we do have that choice in any given moment. And so I have to say, the painting, she's painting away. If you look to my left shoulder here, this is not where they're going to end up. They're going to go in. I'm currently building a new little wellness studio on my property, and Pat sent me these two paintings, which I'll highlight better. But I just felt inspired to share. I love her, and I thank her for her art. So I didn't know she was going to be here today. So that's a nice little surprise. And thank you so much for all the new subscribers that are popping in and saying hello. This is just a little impromptu conversation about the upcoming workshop that we're hosting on, is it the 28th or 20? Actually, it's the 29th, Thursday, the 29th of September, 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, about 2-hour commitment. It will be through Zoom. It will be Jason and I hosting that. It's been a really great experience for people. So I want to talk about that. What can it, in a positive way, potentially or possibly offer people?
I mean, from the work that I do with hypnosis, and I think this is applicable to any type of work like this that you do for yourself. The very act of doing it is getting in touch with our true selves and our higher selves, if you want to consider that, where we're working towards. I've heard it called that these times are called the Great Remembering, where we are in this process of, I guess, remembering, but getting back in touch with our true nature as spiritual beings, having a physical experience. And as much as we've been taught to be skeptical and shut that down, just even being here right now is a step towards recapturing our true essence and who we are. And we are connected, and that there is no difference between me and you or anyone else. It's tapping into that energy. So in that alone is a momentous step. So whether or not you have an experience, sometimes the hypnosis and the group formats aren't exactly optimal for some people, and that's understandable. It's just like people learn different ways. You may be able to access and open up in ways that aren't necessarily in a group. But just being open to the experience and having that intention to connect is positive. It's valuable. Not only for you, but that type of energy is infectious in itself, and doing it as a group is powerful. The higher self have always said, you can talk about the power of prayer in group, but the power of meditation in group, the power and hypnosis as a group, it's all the same. It's much more powerful when you're able to share that together.
Yeah. And Spirit's saying that now about in the remembering, we need that sense of community for the support and the encouragement and the inspiration and the remembering of some of the things that we've forgotten collectively, on a really big scale and I know, Jason, you and I have talked about this, like for one example, our ability to live as humans far longer in this body than kind of the parameters that we've put around it. And we're remembering that. So it's like, and part of to me, what they've said about it is our ability to, like our aging is different. And so there are, there are those signs. Spirit says that there's the proof in that remembering that is being unveiled to us. So that they're saying one little example of that, but collectively, that coming together in community is our way of remembering. It really, really is. Thank you.
And I have to touch on the idea of the aging and the body. That's another aspect that seems to always come up with me as doing hypnosis, but also in doing other practices that I do, where there's this common conception that we have a age expectancy, and we go to doctors who might say something like, "Oh, you're 58, this is typical," and that in itself drives higher selves, or the collective higher self, absolutely crazy, because
they're like, no.
It's like it's all a matter of collective belief, and we give it power by taking that for granted and accepting it. Like, oh, I should expect my eyesight to go because I'm 75. Well, the higher self says, no, that's not the case. It's what do you not see that's right in front of you? Or what aren't you seeing about the bigger picture? It has nothing to do with age, because in essence, we're designed to live for thousands of years. And they've told me again and again, think about the Bible and the stories in the Bible about certain individuals who lived for thousands of years, or think of the records we have from Egyptian pharaohs, where it looks like and appears to be that they lived for thousands of years. And they say that happened. That was the case. They did live that long. And it was all a matter of collective belief and also awareness of, a greater place in the universe and what is possible and what we can manifest. So,
Right. Oh my gosh,
um,
I was just reading that question about the
Mhm.
manifesting and creating part. And I know that you've made it clear about the choice, but can you expand on that? Because I think some people, including myself, can see a connection to in this workshop aspects of manifesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been to the other sessions, there is an element of where you need to go in with a particular intention, and um, it's the same with the hypnosis. It's what based on your intention or what you want to know or why you're doing the hypnosis kind of sets the how it will manifest or unfold for you and the experience that you have. So it's basically you are the master of what you see, whether it be your higher self or conscious intention and the power of manifestation. So if you go in thinking, I am at a point in my life where I don't know whether to buy a house here or go there or, marry this person or leave this person. Just by asking very specific questions, you're able to manifest the experience, particularly with these group hypnosises.
Yeah.
That's
So
what we're.
that's the opportunities because there's great things. So it's like what we bring to it in our intention. It sounds like that's a really big part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a choice. It's either
Yeah.
you can, I've had sessions with clients where they expect it to be kind of like, oh, are you going to do everything for me? And, which
Right.
it's a relaxing process and it's not supposed to be stressful, but it's the amount of energy that you put into something
Mhm.
is what is returned to you. And that comes along with choice too. We make choices. Are you making the choice that you kind of go with because it may not be as challenging, or do you make a choice to take the road less traveled in order to really manifest what you really desire and want in your life?
Awesome. These trolls are relentless. I find it ironic. Thank you for being here.
Especially with what we talked about earlier.
Totally. Yeah. It's perfect. So thank you, moderators who have taken care of that. You're also wonderful. And I make everybody moderators. So the new ones, welcome to yeah, sometimes the truth is, this is only the second time in all the lives that I've ever done that I've had a troll. So, anyways, thank you for taking care of business. Um, what else do you want to share about before we wrap things up about the future life progression? Did we talk about like the why we called it the progression instead of the regression and switched it? We did.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't need to.
I also, I think it's just the idea that we're not
I'm fine.
hurting ourselves.
Case in point. Totally. Yeah.
That there are multiple versions of us, and every choice we make, we walk down a different path and we create another version of ourselves. And sometimes, we might find ourselves on a pathway that isn't the one that we really thought we were going down, but we might find another place where it's not a matter of regret or shame or right and wrong. It's a matter of just making the choice
Yeah.
to make a leap onto another.
Yeah.
It's not obviously a tangible timeline, and we do it all the time. We travel in and out, and it may happen in ways that we can't explain or expect, where, you take the same trail every day and something you make a kind of momentous choice in your life, and you might walk down that trail and see a big boulder that wasn't there before, or you might see a tree that wasn't there before, and you're absolutely positive you've never seen it before. That's a good sign that you've, possibly gone into another timeline and been able to, I want to use the word circumvent, but avoid a particular scenario. So everything is changeable. And the higher self always says that shame and fear and regret and jealousy and, saying, why did I do this? Or why did I choose to do this? Or I should have done it this way. There's no point, because we still have the future to make different choices.
Right. Well said. I had a point, but then I was listening, so I lost it. Which happens often. If anyone else has any other questions regarding this for Jason while he's here, I think I've made everyone a moderator, so that's wonderful. That's I love doing that. One of the most informative books written on this subject is Future Memory at Water, PMH, Future Memory, Hampton Roads Publishing, Kindle. Thank you for that recommendation. After our conversations with Willow. I love your picture and I love your name and I love your recommendation. I'll have to check that out. Have you read it, Jason?
No, I haven't.
No? Interesting.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to screenshot it. I'm so random. I just do things like that. You're probably like, what is he doing? Making memories. Crazy. I think there was one more question. Mims always has those like Mims that are so wonderful. Oh, and someone's thanking you for a session. And because they're saying that. Well,
is my email.
That wasn't true.
Yes, if you have questions or anything like that,
I have his email. Watch this.
Oh.
I am.
Oh, no. No, I'm kidding.
Did I get it right? Or is that wrong?
No, that's right.
Okay. Phew, I got fired. Yes, Mimisms. Exactly. Mimisms. I love them. Amazing. I just want to make sure I didn't miss any more. Anything else you want to say?
I just would encourage everyone to come to the session for their lives. I mean, I think it almost sometimes for people is more meaningful because we don't really think of hypnosis as being able to access that. So in that, there's really, you can't walk into it with any expectations or, I mean, if you have a fear, it's probably of the unknown, and that's not necessary because what you will see is based on your intention and what you need to see. So there's a lot of freedom to it. Some people aren't necessarily seeing this lifetime, but possibly future lifetimes, what that might look like. I will say sometimes other planets, other dimensions. So it's really limitless in terms of what you can access and witness. And again, but whatever comes will also have some significance to you now in various forms. So it's
wonderful.
I'd encourage you not to be fearful, but just open yourself up to the experience.
Yeah. Replace the fear with curiosity.
Yeah.
Genealogy junkie, call me psychic, but I feel like the wrench was safe in your hands. And I actually think you will teach a lot of people how to use that wrench. So there you have it. So thank you for accepting. I don't know if they can decline, actually. It feels a bit forced, but there you have it. And then I saw a question here. Lisa was saying that, hi, Lisa Foster. I said Tuesday, so I wonder if it's next Tuesday, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But Lisa we're going to be doing in the next series, we're going to replay the 3 of them, and we're going to do a morning and an evening to accommodate people that do work during the day. So it's already in the works. So stay tuned for those. And then Captain Morgan, just like the rum, is asking, or not, I mean, choose your own adventure. Any suggestions to repair?
Yeah.
Oh, repair. Oh, that wasn't interesting.
Well, you can't repair because nothing's ever broken.
Right. Right.
The suggestions. So that's a good question. If you go to the event page and you look at the details, I do give the suggestions that I generally give for the group hypnosis. So, it's setting your intention, saying to yourself as kind of not a repeated mantra, but recognizing and opening yourself up and saying, I connect with my higher self. I connect with my guides. They are the ones who will be helping in this process. Getting a good night's sleep, trying to avoid caffeine if at all possible so that you can relax. I know that's not possible for everybody, so don't come in pain needing coffee. It's okay to have some if you need it. And just being open to the experience. Also, I do want to point out, Rainey asked what if you think you can't be hypnotized, which is a great question.
Oh, I already have these all starred.
And
perfect. Let me put that up there.
This is a common concern, and there are some beliefs, for example, that have been created and perpetuated that not everyone can be hypnotized. It's not true. Everyone can be, and we are several times throughout the day. For example, all of you that are watching this right now probably are hypnotized some way or another because you're not conscious of what's going on outside. You might not be conscious of sounds that are going on because you're so focused on what's going on right here. So that's even an example of hypnosis: watching television, watching a movie, listening to music, doing artwork, painting. All of that are forms of hypnosis. We just don't see it that way. So that goes back to a matter of perspective. I'll say there's a reason why commercials come on television, because we are in a state of hypnosis. So the power of suggestion works very, very well. That's one example too. So if you see it more of just where your focus and attention is put, that's hypnosis. So we just conceive of it as, this mystical, inaccessible space for some people, and it's not the case. We all are hypnotized several times throughout the day, and we just don't see it that way.
Cool. So just any precaution, I did notice one of the comments in the chat about being on mind-altering medications, so it would not be recommended to do this workshop. Is there any other?
Take regular medications. The only kind of strong recommendation comes from my experience with the higher self, that like recreational drugs or alcohol, it as much as people think or believe that opens you up more, it's not the case. It often clouds your experience more, and it also it's not a good idea to do that.
Yeah. Betty says it's on her birthday. Well, happy early birthday. We did it just for you. Love you, Betty. To sign up, the actual link is in the description box. It will take you right there. There's still the early bird. I never understood that. Anyways, the early bird
catches the worm.
Yeah, totally. Registration is $5. So it's super affordable. $5 donation will keep you a seat. And if they go according to the first two, it did fill up. So After the 21st, I think it is, it will go to a $10 donation. So to hold a seat. And then, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
And I should also say,
Mhm.
this is a lighter state of trance. If you haven't been to one of these before, it's designed to be for a group. It is based on the methods that Dolores Cannon used for group format. So it's more for fun. It's not meant to be taken too seriously. So again, it shouldn't be keeping you away from doing this and thinking, oh, I'm going to see something really horrible. That won't happen. And it's a lighter state so that it's designed so you will remember it and be able to come back with information that you'll find useful. So it's, if anything, it's kind of like a self-help type thing if you see it that way. So
I love it. And then for people that are interested in working with you one-on-one, Jason is an expert in past life regressions. That he is level 2 for quantum healing, hypnosis therapy. So those are just done in person. And Jason is in Grand what is it called? Grand what? Grand Rapids? Grand what?
Grand Junction, one of those.
Grand Junction. Why do I always mess that up?
It's
I want to say Grand Rapids. I want to say like Grand Canyon, Grand Junction.
Yeah. I will say that I've started, it's kind of happened unexpectedly and naturally. I have started doing these kind of group hypnosis sessions one-on-one, because I obviously can do those virtually. So I really enjoy doing that because not everyone feels safe or wants to open up and share what they experience. Sometimes I've learned, like with our last spirit guide session, some of them became very personal for people and emotional, which is great. But being able to do it one-on-one allows people to really open up, and I can work with you on different aspects of whether it be past life or spirit guides or anything like that. So
a very well-known psychic actually told Jason that would occur before it happened.
Who? Well, I didn't listen, but it's happening anyway.
Oh, so funny. I think I am. Craig says, Kevin, with past life regression, I was afraid of being a bad person, so haven't done it. That's so interesting, Craig. Interesting. Jason, what are your thoughts on that?
That's I mean, there's a lot to say. One of the things is, where's that fear coming from? Because even in just making the choice not to have a past life regression, where's the fear seated? There are cases where you might have had a really horrible life and did really horrible things, but the the matter of fact is that that's part of the learning experience, and it's not good or bad. And if you were, there's a good chance that maybe you're making up for it in this life, and it's not something you need to worry about. You might be with people that you have karmic debt with, that you need to work out. So sometimes the lives are challenging and surprising, and things that you would never remotely think that you would do. But that's okay. So I had one client who he went back to a lifetime where he was a gladiator and he was killing people ruthlessly. And there was one point in that life where he was like, I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. But he had all this remorse and regret and shame for what had happened. And then his next life, he became a poet. He was a poet. And this was another past life, but he was a poet who was writing about love and human connection, had a really simple life that was quiet, and he was able to be away from that type of lifetime. So it's all a matter of balance, really.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't fear it.
Fear not. Yeah, exactly. Some great questions. This was Lisa's response to our previous conversation. Thanks, Lisa. Love you. After hours conversations with Willow says, I think future progression is more valuable to the individual than past life regression. Interesting. Yeah, for some, I would say, yeah, for sure.
I could see that as being the case, particularly
Because
with a
this
lot.
life is the most important.
This life is always the most important. That's good. Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say that it's kind of becoming commonplace to know, or be, especially with higher self coming through sessions, that past lives really are informative, but we're kind of at a point now where we're breaking free of karma and have a choice of whether we want to stay on the wheel of karma. And it's not a matter of, yeah, I want to leave or not. It's what choices we make now. So it's releasing things like regret and shame and fear, and working on relationships and whether they are beneficial to you now, or if it's a cycle that needs to be broken, and making a choice to end that cycle. And we're at a point right now where, at least with the clients that I see, that the past lives aren't so important anymore. I mean, they're helpful, but we're definitely in a time of transition where it's more seeing parallel lives. It's also seeing, a lot of us are energy beings or angels, or here to help. So there can be cases where you haven't had past lives, and that's entirely possible, and sometimes is true in the case.
Yeah. Is there there is the full, up to 5 or 6 hours past life regression hypnosis? Is there a future life one that's that depth of hypnosis, or?
That's actually a good question, because it's termed past life regression, but I've had cases where people go into the future.
Yeah.
And
that's interesting. Spirits ask this question, and it's just sharing. I'm more called to that in my curiosity than I am in past life.
So, yeah, I mean, which that's also a testament to the fact that when you go into these sessions, or the hypnosis, or what we're going to be doing later this month, to not have any expectations.
Right.
I have had some people from the past session say, because it's a guided, essentially meditation, but it is hypnosis, where I might be saying, walk down the staircase, and then someone says, I was already there, so I was confused. It's trusting yourself, and walking in with no expectations, because I've had people come that were expecting a regression, or maybe they don't even know if they believe in past lives, that they find themselves in the future. So it's all the same from the higher self perspective. It's just how we perceive it here. So
awesome. Oh, these I'm just using my wrench abilities here. It's a first. So I'm honored that they came and they showed their support, and we gave them the wrench. So thank you. So now, That's why my number went from over 5,000 to under 5,000. I get it now. Anyways, it's all good. Yeah, good one. Good one, Mims. They are always with us. All right. Well, I guess that is a wrap. We look forward to seeing you. If you decide and feel called to come to the workshop. If not, I'm going to be on tomorrow with my friends Stouffer Cavins, psychic medium, and Lisa from Spirit Intuitive Tarot. We will actually be doing live mediumship, psychic, personal questions. I'm excited for that. So that will be tomorrow at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. Join us if you can for that. And yeah, I think that's it.
And I would say, you know, if there's things that came up today that you think could be a topic for another show or live or whatever, feel free to put those in the comments.
Yeah.
It's always helpful. And no.
Yeah, Jason loves the feedback. Jason, and let me tell you, in the workshop, if I can share the participation and the interaction and the questions, and that was equally as the observer. It was wonderful to see that. And someone had said it earlier about it being a really safe place. It really is. We close the group and we don't let anybody in after we begin. And we just really are immersed in that spirit connection. And it's really beautiful. And Jason is so gracious in his response when you have questions, like nobody. So just the time that he is, his commitment is beautiful. So in that, if you do have questions, email, leave them in the comments here. He gets to see all of them. I've made him an admin and then I took that away. So I'll probably add that again. And and that's what I have to say about that. So thank you all for coming. It ended up being a little longer than I thought, but that's okay. It's perfect. It always is. So thank you. And we will see you again. Thanks. Bye everyone. Thanks for coming.